The Power of Passion and Perseverance by Angela Duckworth. Have you ever wondered why some people achieve extraordinary things while others, who seem just as talented, fall short? Is it pure genius, natural ability, or something else entirely? For decades, society has glorified talent. We see incredible athletes, brilliant musicians, and visionary entrepreneurs, and we naturally assume they were born with a special gift. But Angela Duckworth, a psychologist and researcher, wanted to test this assumption. What she discovered through years of rigorous study changed how we think about achievement forever. Success is not primarily driven by talent or IQ. The true secret to outstanding accomplishment is a unique combination of passion and long-term perseverance, a quality she calls grit. What is grit? To understand grit, we first need to define what it actually means. Duckworth breaks grit down into two core components: passion and perseverance. Passion in the context of grit is not about intense, short-lived enthusiasm. It is not the sudden burst of excitement you feel when starting a new hobby or project, only to abandon it a few weeks later. Instead, passion is about directional consistency over a long period. It is knowing what you want at a deep level and staying committed to that overarching goal for years, or even decades. It is about having a top-level goal that organizes and gives meaning to everything else you do. Perseverance, on the other hand, is the ability to keep going when things get tough. It is the capacity to endure setbacks, failures, frustration, and slow progress without giving up. When you combine sustained directional passion with relentless stamina, you get grit. Duckworth created the grit scale to measure this trait in individuals. Through her research, she found that grit predicts success far better than standardized test scores, high school grades, or IQ. Whether studying cadets at West Point Military Academy, sales professionals, teachers in challenging school districts, or spelling bee champions, the result was consistently the same. The individuals who made it to the top were not necessarily the most naturally gifted, but they were unquestionably the grittiest. The myth of talent. Why are we so obsessed with talent? Duckworth argues that as a culture, we have a natural bias toward talent. We love the idea of the natural prodigy because it protects our ego. If someone else succeeds because they possess a divine gift that we lack, we are excused from our own lack of achievement. It allows us to sit back and admire them without feeling the pressure to work as hard as they do. However, focusing too heavily on talent distracts us from the crucial role that effort plays in every human endeavor. Duckworth presents two simple equations to clarify how talent and effort interact to produce achievement. First, talent multiplied by effort equals skill. Second, skill multiplied by effort equals achievement. Notice how effort appears twice in these equations. Talent simply determines how quickly your skills improve when you invest effort. But without effort, your talent remains nothing more than unmet potential. Furthermore, even after you have developed a skill, it takes additional effort to translate that skill into tangible achievement. Effort counts twice as much as talent. A person with half the natural talent who works twice as hard will ultimately outperform a talented person who relies solely on their innate gifts. Talent without effort is just unused promise. Growing grit from the inside out. The good news is that grit is not a fixed trait set in stone at birth. It can be developed and cultivated over time. Duckworth outlines 4 specific psychological assets that gritty individuals possess, which can be grown from the inside out: interest, practice, purpose, and hope. Cultivating deep interest. Every journey of grit begins with interest. You cannot sustain passion for something if you do not genuinely care about it. However, finding your passion is rarely a single eureka moment where enlightenment strikes like lightning. Instead, passion develops gradually through exploration, engagement, and discovery. Most people start with a spark of curiosity. To turn that spark into a lasting passion, you must explore different fields, try new experiences, and ask questions. In the early stages of developing an interest, play and discovery are essential. Expecting to feel an overwhelming life calling on day one is unrealistic. Passion requires active engagement over time, as well as encouragement from mentors, parents, or peers. Once you find a domain that catches your attention, you must continuously deepen your interest. Gritty people do not get bored easily because they learn to look deeper into their chosen field, finding nuance and novelty in details that an amateur might overlook. The art of deliberate practice. Interest alone will not make you great. You must pair it with intense, focused practice. But not all practice is created equal. Simply repeating the same routine thousands of times will only lead to plateauing, not improvement. Gritty individuals engage in a very specific form of training called deliberate practice. Deliberate practice, a concept pioneered by psychologist Anders Ericsson, involves 4 critical elements. First, you must have a clearly defined stretch goal. Instead of practicing what you are already good at, You target a specific weakness or aspect of your performance that needs improvement. Second, deliberate practice requires complete focus and full concentration. It is mentally demanding and often uncomfortable because you are operating at the edge of your current capabilities. Third, you need immediate and informative feedback. You must know exactly what went wrong and how to adjust your approach right away. Fourth, deliberate practice requires repetition with reflection. You repeat the exercise again and again, making minor adjustments until you master that specific element, after which you set a new stretch goal. Gritty people embrace the discomfort of deliberate practice. They understand that frustration and failure are not signs that they lack talent, but rather necessary milestones on the road to mastery. Connecting to a higher purpose. While interest fuels the initial stage of grit, long-term perseverance requires a sense of purpose. Duckworth defines purpose as the intention to contribute to the well-being of others. Passion often starts as a personal, self-oriented interest. You do something because you enjoy it. But as grit matures, it almost always integrates a desire to serve a larger cause. Gritty individuals see their work as a calling, not just a job or a career. Think about the classic parable of the three bricklayers. When asked what they are doing, the first says he is laying bricks. The second says he is building a wall. The third, with pride in his eyes, says he is constructing a cathedral. All three are doing the exact same physical task, but the third bricklayer connects his daily labor to a ultimate purpose. When you realize that your efforts positively impact other people, your drive becomes far more resilient. Purpose gives you a reason to keep pushing forward when personal interest wanes or obstacles seem insurmountable. Maintaining hope across the journey. Hope is the backbone of grit. But the hope that Duckworth describes is not wishful thinking or passive optimism. It is not the belief that tomorrow will be better simply because you hope it will be. Instead, grit-related hope is an active, growth-minded belief that your own actions can alter your future. This form of hope is deeply rooted in what psychologist Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe that ability is innate and unchangeable. When they fail, they interpret it as proof that they lack the necessary talent, so they give up. In contrast, people with a growth mindset believe that intelligence and skills can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. When they fail, they view it as a learning opportunity rather than a reflection of their ultimate worth. Gritty people talk to themselves in constructive ways. When faced with a setback, they do not ask why this always happens to them. Instead, they ask what they can learn from the experience and what they will do differently next time. This resilient mindset allows them to keep trying even after repeated failures. Growing grit from the outside in. While you can cultivate grit from within yourself, your environment also plays a massive role in shaping how resilient and passionate you become. Duckworth explores three major external forces that influence grit: parenting, extracurricular activities, and culture. Wise parenting and mentorship. How do parents, teachers, and mentors foster grit in young people? Duckworth introduces the concept of wise parenting, which balances two key dimensions: high expectations and warm support. Permissive parents offer high support but low standards, which can lead to children giving up whenever things become challenging. Authoritarian parents demand high standards but lack warmth and support, which can create anxiety and resentment. Wise parents combine demanding standards with unconditional love, warmth, and respect. They set high goals for their children, encourage them to tackle hard challenges, and provide the emotional and practical support necessary to reach those goals. This model applies far beyond parenting. Managers, coaches, and leaders who adopt a wise approach can transform their teams by maintaining high expectations while demonstrating genuine care for their members. The hard thing rule. To build grit in children and teens, Duckworth recommends a practical family guideline called the hard thing rule. This rule has three simple parts. First, everyone in the family, including the parents, must do a hard thing. A hard thing is defined as something that requires deliberate practice and sustained effort, such as learning an instrument, practicing a sport, or mastering a complex skill. Second, you can quit, but you cannot quit on a bad day or in the middle of a season. You must finish your current commitment, such as the soccer season or the term of piano lessons, before deciding whether to stop. This prevents impulsive quitting when faced with temporary frustration. Third, you get to choose your own hard thing. No one is forced into an activity they hate, ensuring that personal interest remains at the core of the endeavor. Participating in structured extracurricular activities for multiple years helps young people internalize the connection between effort and progress, building a foundation of grit that serves them throughout adulthood. The power of culture. Perhaps the fastest way to increase your grit is to join a gritty culture. Human beings have a fundamental desire to fit in with their group. If you join a team, organization, or community where perseverance, hard work, and high standards are the norm, you will naturally adopt those values yourself. In a gritty culture, toughness and resilience are not seen as extraordinary traits. They are simply the way things are done. When you are surrounded by people who do not quit when things get tough, your own definition of what is possible expands, and your identity shifts to match the collective mindset of the group. If you want to be grittier, seek out environments, whether a workout group, a professional organization, or a creative community, where grit is celebrated and practiced daily. Key takeaways for your daily life. As we conclude this journey through Angela Duckworth's research, let us summarize the core lessons that you can apply to your own life today. First, stop overestimating talent and underestimating effort. Remember that effort counts twice toward your ultimate achievement. Natural ability is a head start, but effort determines how far you actually run. Second, discover and deepen your interests. Do not wait for a magical passion to hit you out of nowhere. Explore your curiosities, engage actively, and commit to mastering the details of your chosen field. Third, embrace deliberate practice. Identify your weaknesses, push past your comfort zone, get real feedback, and repeat the process daily. Learn to view struggle not as failure, but as progress. Fourth, connect your work to a purpose larger than yourself. Identify how your goals contribute to others, and use that vision to carry you through difficult times. Fifth, cultivate a growth mindset. Believe that your abilities can grow through hard work, and frame setbacks as temporary obstacles rather than permanent limits. Finally, build a supportive environment. Apply the hard thing rule to your daily routines and immerse yourself in cultures that inspire you to keep pushing forward. Success is not a sprint. It is a grueling, rewarding marathon. Talent may give you a fast start, but it is